Grandma, tonight my parents are going to take away your money. Those words from my 10-year-old granddaughter hit me like a truck. My own son and his wife were planning to steal everything I had worked for. But what I did next, they never saw it coming. This is how I beat them at their own game and got the perfect revenge. But first, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Let me take you back to where this all started. It was a Saturday morning, and I was drinking my coffee when my phone rang. 7 a.m. My son Johnny never calls this early. "Mom, I know this sounds weird, but hear me out," Johnny said. His voice was shaky, like when he was a teenager and crashed my car. "What sounds weird, son?" I asked, sitting back in my kitchen chair. "Well, Lisa really wants... we both think you should come to Esther's birthday party today." "Wait, since when did they need to convince me to see my granddaughter? I never missed Esther's birthdays. Never." "Johnny, when have I ever missed one of Esther's birthdays?" No, that's not what I meant." He paused. I could hear Lisa's voice in the background, sharp and bossy. "It's just that Lisa has been planning this for weeks. She specifically asked me to call you." Lisa specifically asking? The same Lisa who usually acted like I was bothering her when I came over? Something was wrong. "That's nice of her," I said slowly. "Yeah, she's really excited. The party starts at 2, but maybe you could come early. We want to talk about some family stuff." Family stuff? In 3 years since my husband Dominic died, we never needed special talks about family stuff. "What kind of family stuff?" I asked. "Oh, just planning things, future things. Lisa has some ideas about how we can all help each other more." I walked to my window, watching my neighbor water her flowers. Lisa with ideas about helping family? The woman who spent last Christmas on her phone the whole time? "That sounds nice, Johnny." "Great, so you'll be there early? Maybe 1:30? I looked at the fridge where Esther's latest drawing hung, a house with stick people labeled Grandma, Daddy, Mommy, and me in purple crayon. That little girl was the best thing in my world since Dominic died. Of course I'll be there early. I wouldn't miss Esther's day for anything. "Perfect. And, Mom," Johnny's voice got quieter, "just keep an open mind about what we want to talk about, okay? It's all about making sure everyone is taken care of." The phone went dead. I stared at it for a long time. Something was very wrong. Johnny's voice had that same guilty sound from when he was 10 and took money from my purse for candy. But this felt much bigger than candy money. I tried to shake off the bad feeling, but I couldn't. In 30 years of running my bakery business, I learned to read people, and Johnny was definitely hiding something. 20 minutes later, I was getting dressed when I thought about all the money I had given them. $75,000 over 3 years. Mortgage payments, car repairs, Esther's private school. Every time, Johnny would call with some emergency, and I would help. Dominic used to warn me about this. "Be careful, Betty. Johnny is weak, and weak people do dangerous things when someone strong tells them what to do." I thought he meant his drinking buddies. Now I wondered if Dominic saw something in Lisa that I missed. I drove to the mall to buy Esther's birthday presents. I found a perfect Lego set, the White House. It cost $200, but Esther loved building things. Then I bought her a new bike for $350. Her old one was too small. At the flower shop, I bought white roses for Lisa. $28 for flowers that would die in a week, but it seemed like the right thing to do. While I was loading my car, my neighbor Dorothy walked up. "Betty, good morning. Shopping for birthday presents?" "Yes, Esther's turning 10 today." "Oh, that's wonderful. Johnny mentioned the party when I saw him last week." "He mentioned it? Where did you see him?" "Downtown on Tuesday. He was with Lisa, coming out of First National Bank with a big stack of papers. They looked very serious. Tuesday, 4 days ago. Johnny never mentioned any bank business when he called this morning, but people go to banks all the time, right? It probably meant nothing. Probably nothing, Steer. But as I drove home, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Bank business on Tuesday, nervous phone call on Saturday. It felt like more than a coincidence. I got to Johnny's house right at 2 p.m. The door opened before I could even ring the bell. "Daddy!" Lisa practically sang my name, throwing her arms wide like we were best friends. "You look wonderful today!" This was weird. Lisa usually gave me a quick hug and disappeared into the kitchen. Today she was acting like she hadn't seen me in years. "Thank you, Lisa. The party looks beautiful." I stepped inside with Esther's presents. The house was decorated like crazy. Streamers everywhere, balloons in every corner, way more than usual birthday parties. "Mom, there she is!" Johnny appeared, talking way too loud. "Come meet Mike from work. Mike, this is my amazing mother I told you so much about." Amazing mother? Johnny usually complained about how old-fashioned I was, but today he was acting like I was the best mom in the world. "What's going on, Johnny?" I gave Johnny a tight hug. "Welcome, Betty. Mike's new acquaintance. He joined our team at the bank last year," Johnny said. "He is too. Nice to meet you, Miss Frey." Mike smiled. He looked like a normal, friendly guy. "Please, call me Betty," I said. Esther was looking around eagerly for her presents. I gave her the Lego set, and she dropped the box down and started opening it right away.
The living room was full of neighbors and friends. Everyone seemed normal, except Johnny and Lisa. They kept looking at each other with these weird glances, like they were sharing secret messages. "Grandma!" Esther ran to me, and for a second, everything felt normal again. She hugged me tight, and I felt so much love for this little girl. "Happy birthday, sweetheart." I gave her the Lego set first. She opened it carefully, and her eyes got big when she saw the White House on the box. But when she looked up to thank me, something was wrong. She looked sad and worried. 8-year-olds shouldn't look like that on her birthday. "Thank you, Grandma. It's really cool," she said, but her voice sounded heavy. Lisa rushed over. "Isn't Grandma generous, honey? Say thank you the right way." For the next hour, Johnny and Lisa kept acting super fake. Johnny kept talking about how smart and wonderful I was. Lisa kept refilling my wine glass and asking if I was comfortable every 5 minutes. It was like they were putting on a show, but I couldn't figure out why. I was talking to Mrs. Johnson when she said something that made my blood cold. "Esther is such a thoughtful child. Last week, she asked me if grandparents and parents ever fight about important decisions." My wine glass stopped halfway to my mouth. "What did you tell her?" "That families work things out with love and honesty, but she seemed really worried about something." I looked across the room at Esther. She was opening more presents, but she looked like she was carrying the weight of the world on her little shoulders. As the party wound down and people started leaving, Johnny caught my attention. "Mom, stick around after everyone goes home, okay? Lisa and I are really looking forward to that family chat we talked about." The fake cheerfulness was getting heavy, like humidity before a storm. I excused myself to go to the bathroom. As I walked down the hallway, I heard little footsteps behind me. "Grandma." Esther's voice was barely a whisper. I turned around. She was looking back toward the living room, making sure we were alone. This birthday girl should have been glowing with happiness, but instead, she looked scared. "What is it, sweetheart?" I knelt down to her level. She bit her lip, just like her grandfather Dominic used to do when he was worried. "I need to tell you something important about Mom and Dad."
My chest felt tight. "What about them, honey?" "They're going to take your money tonight." The words rushed out like she had been practicing them. "After everyone goes home." I heard them talking last night when I was supposed to be sleeping. The hallway seemed to spin. I grabbed the wall to steady myself, trying to keep my face calm for Esther's sake. "What exactly did you hear?" "Mom said, 'You have too much money for an old lady living alone.'" Esther's voice got even quieter. "She told Dad they were going to fix that problem tonight." Dad seemed scared, but Mom said the papers from the bank would make everything legal. Papers from the bank. Tuesday's visit that Dorothy saw suddenly made terrible sense. "Did they say anything else?" I asked gently. "Dad kept saying, 'What if she finds out?' And Mom said it would be too late by then." Tears filled her eyes. "Grandma, I don't want them to take your money. You're the only one who really listens to me." I pulled her into a tight hug. My heart was breaking that this innocent child had to carry such a heavy secret. "Listen to me carefully," I whispered. "You did the right thing telling me, but we need to keep this our secret for now, okay? Can you do that?" She nodded against my shoulder. "Are you going to stop them?" "Yes, sweetheart. I'm going to handle everything." I held her at arm's length so she could see I was serious. "But we need to go back to your party now and act normal. Can you be brave for me?" "I think so." She wiped her nose. "Will you still love me if Mom and Dad get mad?" That question hit me like a punch. "Esther, nothing your parents could do ever change how much I love you. Nothing. Do you understand?" She smiled for the first time all day. "I love you too, Grandma." We walked back to the party, but everything was different now. I understood exactly what Johnny and Lisa were doing. Going back to the living room felt like walking onto a stage where everyone forgot they were acting. I smiled and talked normally, but inside, I was cataloging every fake smile and coordinated glance between Johnny and Lisa. Mrs. Johnson was talking about her garden when I noticed Johnny checking his watch for the third time in 10 minutes. Lisa appeared immediately next to him. They were managing me, making sure I stayed comfortable and engaged for whatever they had planned for tonight. "Betty, how about more wine?" Lisa touched my arm with fake concern. "You look a little pale. Are you feeling okay?" Pale. Yeah, probably. Learning that your family planned to steal your life's work might do that to a person. But I managed a tired smile. "Just a little headache. But I'm fine." Her expression changed slightly. I could see relief mixed with calculation. A tired, slightly sick grandmother would be easier to manipulate than a sharp one. For the next hour, I played my part perfectly. Gracious grandmother, generous family supporter, aging woman maybe not as sharp as she used to be. Johnny kept steering conversations away from money topics. When guests talked about retirement or the economy, Lisa would change the subject. They were controlling information, making sure nothing conflicted with whatever story they had planned for tonight. Around 5:30, as the sun was getting lower and people started leaving, I announced I wanted to go home. "I think I should leave early. This headache isn't getting better." Johnny and Lisa looked genuinely alarmed. "Mom, wait!" Johnny moved to block my path to the door. "We really wanted to talk about those important family things we mentioned, remember? You promised to stay after everyone left."
"Maybe another time," I said, keeping up the tired grandmother act. "I really need to rest." "But Betty," Lisa stepped closer, sounding urgent, "we have something special planned for tonight, something we've been preparing for weeks." Something they'd been preparing for weeks. The bank visit Dorothy saw. Legal documents. Plans that needed my presence and cooperation.
I'm sure it can wait until tomorrow, I said gently. Family isn't going anywhere. Johnny's face got red. Actually, Mom, there are some time-sensitive issues we need to discuss. Financial matters that can't wait. Financial matters that can't wait. How interesting that Johnny would say it exactly that way. Tomorrow, son, I promise. I turned to Esther, who had been watching our conversation with worried eyes. I knelt down and pulled her into what might be our last innocent hug before everything changed. Thank you for the most wonderful birthday party, sweetheart. Thank you for my presents, Grandma. Her little arms squeezed my neck tight. I love you so much. I love you too, more than you'll ever know, I whispered so only she could hear. Everything will be okay. Johnny put his hand on my shoulder, heavier than necessary, almost like he was trying to keep me from leaving. Mom, please just give us 1 hour to discuss these important family decisions. I looked into my son's eyes and saw not the boy I raised, but a desperate man whose greed had taken over whatever love was left. Another time, Johnny. I need to go home now. Walking to my car while they watched from the doorway, Lisa whispering urgently in Johnny's ear, I felt the weight of pretending finally lift from my shoulders. In my car, I sat for a moment in their driveway, processing what had just happened. My family had planned to rob me tonight with legal documents and careful preparation. I drove home with my mind racing. Inside my house, I went straight to my home office, the room where I had built my bakery business from nothing. 30 years of important documents lived in the wall safe behind Dominic's picture. I spun the combination 185918, Dominic's birthday. The documents told a story I had been too trusting to see. Bank statements showing the pattern of money requests that had grown from hundreds to thousands over 3 years. Investment accounts worth way more than Johnny or Lisa knew about. Property deeds for rental buildings they didn't even know I owned. Most importantly, records of every payment I had made to support their lifestyle. 257 separate payments. Sitting at my desk with Dominic's photo watching from the bookshelf, I finally saw the manipulation clearly. The growing request had been training, teaching me to say yes to bigger and bigger amounts. Lisa's suggestions about nursing homes weren't concern for my health. They were research for tonight's planned theft. Every mortgage payment, every tuition check, they've been planning this for months. I opened my business card file and found James Rodriguez's personal number. 20 years of friendship with the vice president of First National Bank. James would understand exactly what legal documents obtained under false pretenses really meant. It was 9:30 p.m., too late for business calls, but I made a note for tomorrow morning. First priority, understanding exactly what papers Johnny and Lisa had gotten and how to stop them from working. Next, I looked at my will. Standard stuff that left everything to Johnny with money set aside for Esther's education, written when I still thought my son had integrity and love for his family instead of just greed for my money. Those documents needed to change immediately. Looking at my investment statements spread across my desk like battle plans, I calculated my actual net worth for the first time in years, $2.4 million in liquid assets, plus 3 rental properties, plus this house with no mortgage. Way more than Johnny and Lisa suspected, and certainly more than they could steal in one evening. But this wasn't about money. This was about justice for an 8-year-old girl whose parents were willing to hurt her with adult secrets. This was about punishment for adults who would take advantage of an elderly woman's love for her family. Dominic's voice echoed from our last conversation. Watch Johnny carefully. Weak people make dangerous choices when someone strong is whispering in their ear. Now I understood. Lisa had been whispering for 3 years, and Johnny had chosen greed over family love every single time. My phone rang suddenly. Johnny's name appeared. I let it ring. Sunday morning brought the clarity that a sleepless night had failed to provide. Over coffee in my home office, I called James Rodriguez. James, sorry to bother you on Sunday morning. I've been looking at my investment portfolio and wanted to get your thoughts on some management ideas. Betty, always good to hear from you. What's on your mind? I'm thinking about simplifying my accounts, maybe putting everything in one place for easier management. What are current policies on financial assistance programs? Well, there are several options depending on your needs. Are you thinking about automated services or more hands-on management help? Perfect opening. Actually, I've been wondering about power of attorney arrangements, guardianship options. Have you had any clients dealing with those recently? James paused, and I could almost hear him thinking about confidentiality rules. Funny you should ask. Just last week, I had a couple asking about guardianship procedures for an elderly family member. My coffee cup stopped halfway to my lips. Oh, complex process, I imagine. Actually, they seemed very prepared, had done lots of research on conservatorship requirements, documentation timelines, very thorough people. Very thorough. My son and daughter-in-law had researched exactly how to steal my independence with legal precision. That's thoughtful of them to help their family. They were asking specific questions about mental competency evaluations, financial management documentation, timelines for court approval. James's knowledge was exactly what I needed. Mental competency evaluations, court approval timelines. They had planned to have me declared incompetent and take control of everything I had spent 30 years building. Did you think they seemed confident about their situation?
Absolutely. They mentioned having documentation ready, medical opinions prepared, said they expected the process to move quickly once they started. Medical opinions prepared. They had researched how to put me in a nursing home while stealing my wealth, and they had done it with professional thoroughness. Sounds like they really cared about their family members' welfare, I managed to say. That's what struck me most. How much preparation they had put into making sure everything would be legally proper and fast. They asked about expedited processes, emergency conservatorship procedures for situations where immediate action was necessary to protect someone's assets from their own incompetence. Hearing my own situation described in clinical banking terms felt surreal. Well, I appreciate the information, James. Gives me a better sense of available options. Anytime, Betty, though honestly, you seem sharper than women half your age. Can't imagine you needing that kind of help for decades yet. If only he knew how close I had come to needing it yesterday. After hanging up, I stared at my notes. Mental competency evaluations, documentation ready, medical opinions prepared, emergency procedures. Johnny and Lisa hadn't just planned to rob me. They had created a complete legal framework to justify stealing my life. The phone rang. Johnny's name appeared again. This time, I answered. I answered with deliberate tiredness, like just reaching for the phone was hard work. Mom? Thank goodness. I was worried sick about you leaving early yesterday. Johnny's voice sounded genuinely concerned, though I now recognize the calculation underneath. Are you feeling okay? Oh, Johnny, I've been having these terrible headaches. Hard to focus on anything. That doesn't sound good. Maybe we should take you to see a doctor. Lisa and I could drive you to the clinic this afternoon. Perfect. They were speeding up their timeline exactly as I hoped after I disrupted their original plan. That's very thoughtful of you both. I've been feeling so confused lately. Don't worry, Mom. We'll take care of everything. We'll be over in about an hour, okay?
After hanging up, I spent 30 minutes getting ready for the performance of my life. I messed up my hair slightly, put on an old sweater that made me look weaker, and practiced moving slower and more hesitantly. When their car pulled into my driveway, I was ready. "Betty, we brought some papers that might help with your situation," Lisa announced as they settled into my living room. She had brought a leather folder that looked expensive and professional. "Papers?" I blinked at her with what I hoped looked like real confusion. "What kind of papers?" Johnny leaned forward, looking earnest. "Mom, we've been researching ways to help you manage things better. Your finances, medical decisions, that sort of thing." Manage. I rubbed my temples like the conversation was causing physical pain. Everything seems so complicated these days. Lisa opened the folder efficiently. "These documents would give us power of attorney to help with your banking, bills, medical appointments. Think of it as having a backup system." The forms looked professionally prepared, with yellow highlighting showing where I needed to sign. Someone had spent serious money on legal consultation for this theft. I stared at the papers like they were written in a foreign language. "It's so overwhelming," I whispered. "I used to understand these things better." "That's exactly why we need to do this now," Lisa pressed gently, "before things get more confusing for you." Johnny shifted uncomfortably. "Mom, are you sure you're okay? You seem really different today." I looked at him with confused gratitude. "Different? I don't feel different. Just tired all the time. These headaches make it hard to think clearly." Lisa and Johnny looked at each other. The same coordinated communication I had noticed at the party, but now I understood its purpose. They were deciding if I was impaired enough to sign documents without understanding what they meant. "Betty, these papers would just make it easier for us to help you. You wouldn't have to worry about managing everything alone." "I suppose that would be nice," I said slowly, picking up one of the documents with shaking hands. "But this is such a big decision. My head is pounding trying to think it through." "Of course it's a big decision," Johnny said quickly. "Take your time." Lisa's patience looked more strained. "Don't you think it would be easier with family help? You trust us, don't you?" "Of course I trust you. You're family." I set the papers down carefully. "But could I maybe sleep on it? Decide tomorrow when my head is clearer? These headaches make everything so fuzzy." Johnny and Lisa looked at each other again, and I could see Lisa's frustration barely hidden under her caring act. "Sure, Mom. We'll come by tomorrow morning, and you can sign them then." After they left, I let myself slump in my chair, dropping the performance for the first time in hours. The documents they had left behind told the complete story. Power of attorney forms that would have given them complete control over my finances, medical decisions, and living arrangements. 3 hours later, I sat in my home office like a general planning a battle. Their power of attorney documents lay spread across my desk, professional forms that would have given them complete control over my finances, medical decisions, and living arrangements. Catherine Martinez answered on the second ring. "Betty, good evening. What can I do for you?" "Catherine, I need notary services tomorrow morning for some family financial documents. Could you come to my house around 10 o'clock? "Of course. What type of documents are we dealing with?" I chose my words carefully. Power of attorney forms. It might be a sensitive family matter, so I'd appreciate your professional discretion. "You know you can count on that. I'll bring my seal and journal." Perfect. Catherine had notarized dozens of contracts for my bakery business over the years. She would recognize pressure tactics or coercion immediately. Next call, James Rodriguez. "James, Could you stop by tomorrow morning around 10? I've been thinking about our conversation yesterday, and I'd like to review my portfolio in detail. Certainly, Betty. After what we discussed about financial management assistance, I think a thorough review would be wise. Excellent. It might be educational. James chuckled. I'll bring the paperwork. See you at 10.
Educational indeed. James would witness whatever Johnny and Lisa planned to do, and as a bank vice president, he would understand exactly what he was seeing. Final call, Johnny. I let my voice carry the shaky uncertainty I had performed that afternoon. Johnny, I've been thinking about those papers you brought. You were right. I do need help managing things. Mom, that's wonderful. Lisa will be so relieved. We can come over first thing tomorrow morning. I've arranged for a notary to make everything proper and legal. 10 o'clock sharp. Perfect. And Mom, thank you for trusting us with this. Trust? The word tasted bitter, but I managed to sound grateful. You're my family. Of course I trust you. After hanging up, I walked to the window overlooking my backyard. Dominic's rose garden needed attention, another task I had been managing alone since her death. Tomorrow would determine whether I would continue managing it as a free woman or watch it die from some nursing home while Johnny and Lisa divided our life's work. I pulled out a yellow legal pad and wrote down what I expected tomorrow. 9:45 a.m. Catherine arrives, sets up notary materials. 10 a.m. James arrives with portfolio documents. 10:05 a.m. Johnny and Lisa arrive expecting easy document signing. 10:10 a.m. Professional witnesses observe their manipulation tactics. 10:15 a.m. Truth emerges. The beautiful irony wasn't lost on me. They had researched how to steal my independence through legal procedures, but they had forgotten that legal procedures require proper witnesses and documentation. Tomorrow, those same requirements would expose their betrayal. 20 miles across town, Johnny was probably telling Lisa how cooperative I had sounded, how the notary would make everything official, how close they were to controlling millions of dollars. They would celebrate tonight, confident that a confused old woman had finally accepted my help. They had no idea they were walking into a trap set by the same business mind that built what they were trying to steal. Monday morning arrived gray and cold. I had slept little, but when Catherine arrived at 9:45 with her notary seal and journal, I felt completely prepared. "Good morning, Betty. Beautiful home office," she said, arranging her materials on the side table. "This should be straightforward." James knocked precisely at 10, carrying his banker's portfolio. "Morning, Betty. Ready for that portfolio review?" "More ready than you know." I positioned myself behind my desk as footsteps approached the front door. Johnny and Lisa entered with confident smiles and their leather document case. They paused when they saw Catherine and James, but Lisa recovered quickly. "How thoughtful of you to arrange professional assistance. This will make everything so much more official." "Indeed it will," I replied, my voice carrying none of yesterday's confused weakness. "Please, everyone, take a seat." Johnny settled into the chair across from my desk, still smiling. "Mom, you sound much better today. More like your old self." "Exactly like my old self. Sharp, observant, capable." I leaned forward, meeting his eyes directly. "Which is why I need to tell you something before we sign any documents." Lisa's pen stopped moving. "Betty, what's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong with me, Lisa, but I know all about your plan." The silence stretched like a wire about to snap. Johnny's smile disappeared. "Mom, what plan? We're here to help you."
I know about your visit to James's bank last Tuesday. I know about the guardianship procedures you researched. I know about the mental competency evaluations you plan to arrange. Johnny's face went white. Lisa's carefully controlled expression cracked for just a moment before she tried damage control. Betty, you're confused. We visited the bank about our own financial planning. James, I interrupted, turning to my friend, would you mind sharing what they discussed during their Tuesday afternoon appointment? James cleared his throat professionally. They asked detailed questions about conservatorship procedures, documentation requirements for declaring someone mentally incompetent, and fast-track court processes for emergency financial management. Catherine looked up from her notary journal, suddenly alert. Mrs. Henderson, are you saying these power of attorney documents were prepared under false pretenses? I'm saying they plan to have me declared incompetent so they could steal everything I've worked 30 years to build. Johnny found his voice, though it came out strangled. Mom, we were worried about you. Yesterday you seemed so confused. Yesterday I was acting. Today you're seeing who I really am. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out the documentation I had prepared. 257 transactions over 3 years, $75,000 in support payments. Every mortgage payment, every car repair, every private school tuition bill, all documented. Lisa leaned forward, desperation creeping into her voice. Those were legitimate family expenses. Training payments. Teaching me to say yes to bigger and bigger amounts until I would agree to sign away my independence. I looked directly at her. You researched exactly how to have me put in a nursing home while you divided my life's work. Catherine set down her pen. This is highly unregular. I need to understand the full situation before notarizing anything. The full situation is that my son and daughter-in-law spent weeks researching legal procedures to steal my money, talked to lawyers about guardianship procedures, and planned to have me declared mentally incompetent based on fake evidence of confusion. Johnny's hand shook as he gripped his chair. We just thought you might need help managing things. Help managing a net worth of $2.4 million plus 3 rental properties? My voice got harder. Help that required talking to lawyers about emergency conservatorship procedures? Lisa stood up suddenly. You're twisting everything. We love you. Love doesn't involve conspiracy, Lisa. Love doesn't involve researching how to steal someone's independence while they're still healthy and capable. James spoke quietly. Betty, the questions they asked were very specific. They knew legal terminology that most families never encounter unless they're planning something significant. Catherine nodded grimly. In my experience, legitimate family financial planning doesn't require research into mental competency evaluations.
The room fell silent except for Johnny's heavy breathing. He looked at me with something like recognition, maybe seeing for the first time the businesswoman who had built the wealth they tried to steal. What happens now? He whispered. I stood up, feeling every year of my age, but also every ounce of my experience and wisdom. Now we discuss consequences. Consequences? I repeated, opening my desk drawer to get the legal documents I had prepared over the weekend. I'm changing my will immediately. My estate will go into an educational trust for Esther, accessible when she turns 21. Johnny leaned forward desperately. Mom, please. We made mistakes, but we can fix this. The trust will provide for her college education, graduate school if she chooses,
and startup money for whatever career path she picks. I spread the new will documents across my desk. Catherine, I need these witnessed and notarized. Lisa's voice cracked. Betty, you can't do this to your own family. I'm protecting my family, I replied firmly, from parents who were willing to steal her grandmother's independence to pay for their lifestyle. Catherine examined the documents professionally. Mrs. Henderson, these terms are quite specific. There are conditions attached. If Johnny and Lisa formally give up all claims to my estate and show genuine change over the next year, I'll reconsider, but they must prove they've become the parents Esther deserves. James nodded as he witnessed my signature. The educational trust structure is excellent. She'll have every opportunity you never got to provide directly. Johnny buried his face in his hands. What does genuine change mean? How do we prove that? By getting jobs that actually support your family instead of depending on me. By putting Esther's happiness before your own financial wants. By showing me that my granddaughter matters more to you than my bank account. Lisa stood up, her calm mask finally cracking completely. How are we supposed to live without your support? The same way millions of other families do, through honest work and responsible spending. I looked at her steadily. The mortgage help ends today. The car payments stop immediately. You're both adults with college degrees. Figure it out. Catherine finished notarizing the documents. Everything is legally binding now, Mrs. Henderson. You should keep these in a secure location. My lawyer will have copies by this afternoon, I assured her. After Catherine and James left with handshakes and promises of secrecy, the three of us sat in uncomfortable silence. Johnny looked broken. Lisa appeared to be planning survival strategies. Is there anything else you want to say? I asked. Johnny met my eyes for the first time since the truth came out. I'm sorry, Mom. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I'm genuinely sorry. Lisa said nothing, which told me everything about her priorities. Words are cheap. Actions over the next year will determine whether this family has a future together. 3 hours later, Esther knocked on my door, her school backpack still over her shoulder. Grandma, Mommy said you wanted to see me. I knelt to her level, just like I had in the hallway 2 days ago. Come sit with me, sweetheart. We need to talk about some grown-up things. She sat beside me on the couch, her 10-year-old wisdom already sensing something serious. Is this about what I told you? Partly. Your mommy and daddy made some bad choices about money, and there have to be consequences. But none of this changes how much I love you. Are they in trouble? They have to learn to take better care of themselves and you. But Esther, I want you to know that your future is completely safe. I've made special arrangements to make sure you can go to any college you want, study anything that interests you. Her eyes brightened slightly. Even veterinary school? That's really expensive. Especially veterinary school. And if you change your mind and want to be an engineer or a teacher or start your own business, there will be money for that too. What about Mommy and Daddy? They're going to work very hard to become better parents. And if they succeed, our family might be able to heal from this hurt. But even if they don't, you and I will always have each other. She hugged me tightly, and I felt Dominic's presence in that embrace. 3 generations of love continuing despite betrayal and broken trust. Can we look at college websites? Esther asked. I want to see what veterinary schools look like. Absolutely, I smiled, reaching for my laptop. We have all the time in the world to plan your future. Outside, spring was turning to summer, and Dominic's roses were finally beginning to bloom. 6 months have passed since that terrible Monday morning, and I'm happy to report that Esther is thriving. She's excelling in her new public school. Yes, Johnny and Lisa had to pull her out of private school when the money stopped flowing. But you know what? She's happier than ever. Esther comes to visit me every weekend, and we spend hours planning her future. We've looked at college programs across the country, engineering schools, business colleges. The world is completely open to her now, and she knows it. As for Johnny and Lisa, well, that's where this story gets really interesting. Johnny finally got a full-time job at a local electronics store. It doesn't pay much, but he's working honest hours for honest pay. He calls me once a week now, not to ask for money, but just to talk. Sometimes he sounds like the son I raised instead of the greedy man he became. Lisa? She got a job at a real estate office. Turns out she's actually pretty good at sales when she applies herself to something other than manipulation. She even apologized to me last month, a real apology, not the fake kind she used to give. They've been making their mortgage payments on their own for 6 months now. Their cars are older and not as fancy, but they're managing. Most importantly, they're both spending more time with Esther and less time scheming about money they don't have. The best part? Esther told me last week that her parents seem happier now, less stressed, more present. It turns out that constantly plotting to steal from your elderly mother-in-law is actually pretty exhausting work. I haven't decided yet whether to change my will back. They still have 6 months to prove they've really changed. But honestly, even if I do, the bulk of everything will still go to Esther's educational trust. She's the future in this family, and she deserves every opportunity in the world.
My lawyer says what Johnny and Lisa tried to do was definitely illegal. I could have pressed charges, had them arrested, destroyed their lives completely. But that wouldn't have helped Esther, and it wouldn't have given them a chance to become better people. Instead, I chose justice over revenge. I protected what mattered most, my granddaughter's future, while giving my son and his wife an opportunity to redeem themselves. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies. Sometimes it's forcing them to become better people. The other day, Esther asked me if I was angry at her parents. I told her the truth. I was disappointed and hurt, but not angry anymore. Anger is a waste of energy when you have a granddaughter's future to plan and roses to tend. Dominic's garden is more beautiful than ever this year. Esther helps me water it every weekend, and we talk about all the amazing things she's going to do with her life. College, career, maybe a family of her own someday. That little girl saved me from losing everything. Not just my money, but my faith and family. She showed me that love and honesty still exist, even when the adults around her had forgotten both. So here's what I learned from almost losing everything to my own family. Trust your instincts. Document everything. Surround yourself with professional witnesses when something feels wrong. And never, ever underestimate the power of a 10-year-old's conscience. Most importantly, remember that the best way to win a game is to change the rules entirely. Johnny and Lisa thought they were playing chess, moving pieces around to capture my king, but I wasn't playing chess at all. I was playing checkers, and when they thought they had me cornered, I jumped all their pieces and won the whole board. They wanted my money. I put it beyond their reach forever, while ensuring Esther's dreams can all come true. They wanted me declared incompetent. I proved I was sharper than both of them combined. They wanted to control my life. I took control of theirs instead, forcing them to become responsible adults for the first time in years. The funniest part? They actually seem grateful now. Turns out that having to work for a living and budget their expenses has made them appreciate what they have instead of constantly wanting what they don't have. Who knew that the best way to save a family was to completely restructure it? Esther starts high school next year, and she's already talking about AP classes and science camps. Her college fund grows every month, and she knows she can dream as big as she wants. That's the real victory here. Not that I stopped Johnny and Lisa from stealing my money, but that I ensured Esther will never have to depend on anyone else's generosity to build her dreams. She'll graduate college debt-free, with enough money left over to start her own veterinary practice or whatever else captures her brilliant mind. And if she wants to help her parents when she's older and successful, that will be her choice, made from a position of strength rather than obligation. As for me, I'm 72 years old. I have my health, my independence, and the love of an amazing granddaughter. My roses are blooming, my house is paid off, and I wake up every morning knowing I protected what mattered most. Sometimes people ask me if I regret being so harsh with Johnny and Lisa, but here's the thing. I wasn't harsh. I was loving. Real love sometimes means setting boundaries and enforcing consequences. Real love means protecting the innocent and teaching adults to be responsible. Fake love would have been enabling their theft, letting them put me in a nursing home and allowing Esther to grow up thinking it was normal for parents to steal from grandparents. Instead, I chose tough love, and it worked. So to everyone watching this video, if you suspect your family members are trying to take advantage of you financially, trust your instincts. Get professional help. Document everything. And remember that sometimes the people who claim to love you the most are the ones you need to watch most carefully. But also remember that redemption is possible. People can change when they're forced to face consequences for their actions. Johnny and Lisa are proof of that. Esther's drawing still hangs on my refrigerator, but she's made a new one. This time it shows 4 stick figures standing together, but the grandma figure is bigger and stronger, clearly in charge. She labeled it, "Grandma Saves the Day." That little girl understands exactly what happened, and she's proud of her grandmother for being strong enough to protect her future while still giving her parents a chance to do better. That's the legacy I want to leave behind. Not just money for education, but the knowledge that standing up for what's right is always worth it, even when it's scary and difficult. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories about family, money, and justice. Share this video with anyone who might be dealing with similar family financial manipulation. Sometimes people need to know they're not alone and that there are ways to fight back. Tell me in the comments, have you ever had to deal with family members who tried to take advantage of you financially? How did you handle it? I read every comment and love hearing your stories. Remember, your worth isn't measured by how much you give to ungrateful people. Your worth is measured by how well you protect the people who truly deserve your love and support. Keep your families close, but keep your finances closer. And never be afraid to be the adult in the room when everyone else is acting like children. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where I'll share another story about justice, family, and the power of standing up for what's right. Until then, remember, sometimes the best revenge is living well and protecting those who matter most. Subscribe, like, and share if this story inspired you. Your support means everything to me and helps me keep sharing these important stories. See you next time.